pull each piston out. These are the rods. We're going to rotate this crankshaft. So each rod is outward, easy to work on. We'll pop them out, and we'll check the condition of the engine block and the pistons at that point. And by the way, for you folks that don't know what a 4-bolt main is, this is a 4-bolt main Chevy block, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding the main bearing caps onto the block. Now on the very front one, it only has 2, which is standard on any 350 Chevy engine. But a 2-bolt main block will only have 2 bolts and a small bearing cap on all of the main journals. Just 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So anyway, this is a 4-bolt main, which makes the block a lot stronger, and especially made to put in truck applications. And a lot of hot rod people use them too. Small accessories off. These little oil filter deals can be kind of tricky. You have to hold this socket square on the bolt. Just the way they make the bolt. Usually just get them both loose first, and then I take them off by hand. And that's it. Actually, this one fell apart. The little bypass spring fell right out of it, so I think we're going to have to replace that. Usually I clean it and reuse it, but I think we'll get a new one on this particular job. So that's junk. I'll take the oil pump off. Again, I only use impact wrenches for taking things apart, and actually I'm a little gentle on this particular one. A couple little wraps like that and get it out. Take it out by hand. Now your oil pump bolt looks exactly like your head bolt, except it's a little bit longer. So you might want to keep it separate from all your bolts, just so you know that's your oil pump bolt. If you put a head bolt in by accident, you'll strip out your main cap, the threads that hold the oil pump on. So just probably want to keep that one separate. So anyway, I'll set that one aside. This is the oil pump shaft. In the rebuild kit, you'll get a new plastic fitting to put the oil pump shaft on the new oil pump. Always replace that. Okay, so we're going to rotate this engine so I have the number 1 and 2 journals available right in front of me to work on here. If you can see that, I got them both sticking straight out here, and it takes a 9/16. And I usually just loosen them. Take one off at a time. You don't want to mix match these rod caps if you're not going to have them resized. So, let's see. Usually just a couple little taps like that just to break them loose. Should be able to slide it off. Sometimes you have to work it, jiggle it from side to side, and it'll come off. Then I have a rubber mallet hammer handle here that I just use that to push them out. That way you got to be careful you don't scratch up that crankshaft on the way out if you're not planning on regrinding it. This one we're going to regrind for sure, so I'm not too worried. May have to crank this motor a little more to get some more room. There we go. So we got our first piston out. Doesn't really look too bad. Just some normal wear. Doesn't look like it has a lot of miles. You always want to look at your bearing surfaces. You know, if they have that fresh machined look, you might want to mic them, and you can use it over again without having to resize your rods. Also look at your bearings. You can tell what kind of wear you've been getting. Actually, these don't look too bad. They still have the gray part of the babbitt right onto the bearing, so probably kind of had low miles. I'm guessing maybe about 50,000 miles on this one. So we'll continue to take the rest of the rods and caps off. Like I said, always put these back on, same rod they came off of. Screw your bolts back on. Like I said, depending on what your budget is, you may or may not want to resize these rods. If you don't have to, you can get away without it. Whenever you're doing a total rebuild, I recommend doing everything. You have the rods resized, new pistons installed, have the crank ground, have the block align honed and bored out. Take the rest of these pistons out. Stubborn one. You always have to just walk them off like that, because if you get it cockeyed, pulled out one side more than the other, it's going to bind up. Always try to get it straight out. Again, we have really good shape, good wear on the pistons, hardly any wear, just a little bit of carbon deposit. So that means, I mean, if we get lucky, we may be able to re-ring this engine. We'll have to see. Yeah, this bearing's got a lot more wear. Actually having copper showing through. I don't know if you can see the copper right there. That means it's getting worn out. So, this guy's going to have himself a good running engine when we're all done here. Now also you can check if these rods are numbered. See, these particular ones are. There's a number 2 and a number 2 there. So that way it's a lot safer that you won't mix up your bearing caps. A lot of them that haven't been worked on before don't have numbers on them, and you can put the number on yourself if you like. Alright, well now we've got all the connecting rods and pistons out of the engine block. The next step is to take off all the main cap bolts. And we'll be taking that crankshaft out next. So far it looks pretty good. It's not really chewed up. Doesn't have a lot of wear on it. So things are looking good. We did have a couple bad pistons though, which I'll show you when we're all done disassembling this. We'll go through all the parts. But anyway, now we're going to take the crankshaft out.